update a driver in order for the audio to work for some reason, even though I used Zoom yesterday. So I get it with the technology. So we'll give them a few more, another minute or so. Robert is here. Good morning, Robert. There are a lot of new names in here that are not always in our thing. So glad you're going to come in. Give you guys probably almost ready to go. So I'll get started slow. So in case a few more people come in, they don't miss too much. So today's webinar is going to be on our AI and deep learning servers and software. We're going to talk, I'll go forward here a little bit. We're going to talk about the hardware, configuring some items in the hardware, a little bit about Spectrum, and then we're going to take some questions. Some of you may already have this hardware in front of you, or someone's talked to you about it, and you want to know a little bit more. And we'll be, like I said, we'll be doing these and more webinars. It's I don't know what to call it. It's distributor expo season coming up, and ISC West, and a lot of stuff. So there'll be a lot of opportunities, of course, to interact with us folks at Digital Watchdog directly. So first thing, let's talk about the Blackjack hardware AI servers. So what this is an all-in-one box that has the AI software in it and your Spectrum server, and so it's designed to record and do the analytics on board. Couple of key items is we have a RAID 5 option for your data security, and it's built to order, 7 to 10 business day lead time. We're usually very good about hitting the mark on that, so don't worry about that. The rack mount does come with the rack mount ears. We're going to talk more specifics in the hardware shortly. These products are NDAA, TAA compliant. We work very hard to keep up with the different levels of security and the hardware that's in them to make sure we maintain that with now 99.9% of our products. I have to really think about one that's might not be NDAA compliant, but we're working very hard to make sure we're 100, everything's 100%. First off is the rack mount. So what I want to tell you about the little specification sheet here, for lack of a better term, is our servers, these servers ship with 4 IP licenses and 4 analytic licenses. Okay, so you can plug in any 4 supported IP cameras, okay, and then you can do analytics and record on those. And I think most of you guys are familiar with Spectrum. Is the Spectrum record license is just that, a record license. If you plug a bunch of cameras into the server, you can view them live, you can set frame rate, you can do a lot of stuff you just won't be able to record. And then when you add the record license in, of course, you can record with it. The AI license, we're going to go over the setup, and so you'll see how that appears in the configurator. This happens to be a rack mount. We're putting the OS and the analytics software onto an SSD drive, 480 gig SSD drive, running the latest i7 processor, 32 gigs of RAM, although Spectrum doesn't need the RAM. The AI software performs better with more RAM in it. High throughput, up to 96 terabytes of storage. Again, you can add a RAID 5. We have an NVIDIA GPU in there for the analytics. Excuse me. And of course, we have the mobile apps, and we put a keyboard and mouse. And like I said, this one comes with the rails built in it. So that's our rack mount, our P-rack option. The options I'm going to show you today are the 3 options that are available now. We will be adding more options, especially as we get closer to ISC West. And we're going to do, anyway, I'll keep going and won't get sidetracked today. So the next one is the rack mount. Again, same thing for record licenses. For analytic license, it is a tower case, so it's a different configuration than the rack. GPU, it's basically the same machine in a little different, a lot different form factor. I shouldn't say a little different form factor, a lot different form factor. And then we've got the model that has less storage, not 96 terabytes, only up to 48 because it's a shorter tower. It's a mid tower. Same for licenses, same for analytic licenses. And the only big differences is obviously not enough storage, but also no availability for RAID built into it. These all come with our 5-year warranty on them. Mark, I'll answer your question at the end, Mark, just a question. And then let's talk just for a couple of minutes about Spectrum. So DW Spectrum, I think most of the people on this call probably know this. It is an open architecture cross-platform product, which means we have an Apple version of the client, a Windows version of the client, a Linux version of the client, a Linux server, of course, a Windows server version. We have a version that runs on Raspberry Pi and the smaller IoT devices. So, and also it means that built into the system is the API and SDK. So if someone wants to write an app, get signals from the unit, send it to a third-party software, it can be easily done. And then, of course, excuse me, I got to move something out of my way. So interface is dramatically easy to use. Again, some of you people might not know this. If you want, send me an email and we'll set up someone to come and either show you or do a webinar to show you how easy it is, the software to use. Enterprise features are standard. There are no tiered versions. All the functionality is built into Spectrum. So, you know, if you want to support some video wall, enterprise, all this other stuff, the functionality is actually built into it. Okay. Digital Watchdog has yet to charge for a software update. So we have lifetimes upgrades included, no annual agreement or fees. We're scalable 1,000 devices. The one device, just to let you guys know, we have a product called CAS, which is a camera which has Spectrum and storage built into it. They're at now built-in storage 500 gigs and 1 terabyte built into camera, so you don't need a server. And they also have our DW Cloud built into them. Okay, so any device, including the CAS cameras, whatever, can be viewed using the DW Cloud service, which has some health monitoring, and you can manage users and licenses and all that stuff directly from your cloud dashboard. All right. So I get asked this every now and then. And so here's a list of videos we have for Spectrum and knowledge base articles. Okay. You can also over here is this, if someone wants this link list, send me an email, let me know, and I will send them a link list. But you can say, you know, storage backup, virtual cameras. These are all links to videos to tell you how to add them. And then in different knowledge base articles. Okay. How to do a large Spectrum system deployment. We're always talked about licenses. Spectrum, you know, has licenses you need to record, but you can activate and deactivate the licenses. You don't have to even contact us to do that. And also, we have a program called Double Down. For those of you guys who don't know, if you're a part of our CPP program, you can basically get either free or low-cost licenses to that. Raymond, send me an email, paulk@digital-watchdog.com. These questions sometimes get blown out, so send me an email. Anyway, so this is a link list, including the interactive user manual. Like I said, I'll be glad to supply it to people. So these systems have, of course, Spectrum built into it, and we can have about a 5-hour webinar if we really want to about Spectrum. But now we can go in and say, what else is in this with the AI server? So the analytics that are built into it, okay, are everything on the screen here. So you've got your zones, your tamper detection, You've got your deep learning filter. You've got your different counting. Okay. You've got a direction filter, a people tracker, appearing objects, disappearing objects, start, enter, exit, dwell, a tailgate filter, logical rules, directions, and also a color filter, which isn't listed on here. So, okay, there you go, color filter. So you can go in and filter by color, line crosses, intrusion, stuff like that. And here's like just a basic diagram of the cameras streaming into the server, the IVA servers running in the background on the server itself, and it's communicating data between that and the IVA server plugin in Spectrum, and then sending that data when you log into the client. And I'll show you a little bit of how Spectrum is interacting with the deep learning server built into it also. So I'm going to show you a couple videos and a little bit of information on setting it up. We have other videos available that will go in depth into different areas. I want to sort of move ourselves into an area of the features that aren't normally used. But when you go and set it up, you have our IVA configuration tool. And you see this little orange button up here? It will show you the cameras on your system. So I'm going to pause this. So this is a merged system. So these are all the cameras on the merged system. This is the IA server. You should run, you'll have to run the cameras you want video analytics on the server that has the video analytics software. Okay, so that's why these two are showing up on here. Now you can have cameras that are non-analytic on there also, but the cameras you want to run literally on it should be on that server. There makes just easier, faster communication, works better. But this will show all the servers on a system. So this is a merged system. Okay, and you have your 3 different servers. One's a Linux box, one's a window box, and then one is our DW Cube, and then one is our IA server. All right, and this will either toggle between any camera that has the analytics, and then, oh, sorry, got to go back because I didn't pause. There we go. I boomered it. We'll fast forward a little bit. So that will just go between the cameras that have IA. Of course, this shows you how to activate the plugin, and then we'll pause it here real quick. So you can, after you enable it, and we'll talk about enabling on the next slide, you can then go and add your rules. You do get some of these pop-up warnings. I'm not going to say ignore them. Look at them if you want to ask tech support about them, and if it's giving you a harsh error message, you can go in and, of course, contact tech support. They'll tell you how to leave it. But some of this is just popping up as a reminder to make sure you have certain things going. So the next part is adding rules. So I'm going to pause it here again. You have intrusion, enter, exit, loitering, appear, disappear, stopped, line cross, tailgate, direction violation, logical rule, and non-detection. So the non-detect zones, as you guys probably heard from other talks I've given, are as important as your detection zones. So this camera here, skewed a little bit to the side, but you can go in and set the sky as a non-detect zone. Maybe have a couple areas where there's trees moving around in the background. Those over there, just make them non-detect zone. This way the camera analytics are not having to look at those different areas. So again, we'll continue on. We have counters. So you can add counters to every this, and we're going to talk more about this later on. And then we have our tamper detection, which that went by a little fast, I would turn on. Let me see if I can roll this back without jumping slide forward. Here we go. So tamper, I would always enable the tamper detection. And what you can do is you can suppress alarms on inside a building if people are flicking on and off the lights. Okay. That would be the one thing I would just turn it on. And then if you want, just as a display option, you can show object color. So the deep learning software is sending the data into Spectrum, and you're deciding whether to just display it or not, or act on it. Okay. So deep learning software is always working and always trying to send the data into Spectrum. Depends on if you're telling Spectrum to act on it or not. So let's roll forward just a little more. And then you enable the plugin, okay? You select, enable on the tab. You have this left panel, which shows your filter to all camera, and then you decide what you want to do with the plugin. Of course, you can look at license status and a few other things. If I roll forward just a little bit, as we saw, and I'll bring up a bigger screen, there are three choices: object tracker, DL object tracker, and DL people tracker. I'm going to say ignore object tracker, okay, and just focus on the DL object tracker and DL people tracker. DL object tracker is our deep learning object tracker that will track cars, trucks, vans, bicycles, motorcycles. I think there's 6 different things. It is pre-calibrated to look at, okay? And then it analyzes the scene, finds those items, and then displays them and kind of asks you, then sends the data into Spectrum, and then you can decide what to do with that particular data. Then there's DL people tracker. That is designed to just detect people, okay? So my feeling is DL object tracker is outdoors. You got people, you got cars, maybe you got motorcycles you don't want going by the place or something else, okay? And people tracker would be for indoors, but you can use the people tracker outdoors if you're just worried about people. I got a certain area there. Maybe I don't want people going to this certain area outside. I want to be alerted because there's heavy machinery or something like that going on. And then you've got your main screen. You just choose. I would say when you choose and start it up, choose wisely. Maybe you just want to use DL object tracker because it, for some reason you want to change something around. You'll have that. People tracker, there won't be any precision difference between it. The people tracker is not better than the object tracker. The object tracker just has more predetermined items in it. And so again, we jump to rules. You go down to add, you add your rule, and you decide what the rule is. You can move these boxes around if you're doing areas. If you're doing lines, I'll show you a little bit of that. Here's what I've noticed is you don't take a rule, let's say like intrusion, and put it over the whole screen, okay? We've been experimenting with stopped, okay? So if something pulls into one of these parking spaces and they're there for more than a couple minutes, it creates an alert, okay? And so we want to make them the size of each parking space. And here's why. So if we make them bigger, so let's say I made this one a little too long and it was sticking in the road, a car pulls in, 40 seconds later, another car goes by. Well, it detected a car object and thus it reset the timer for that area. So you actually want to make the areas smaller than what you think in order so when that vehicle's in there, there's not another car that could go by that could reset the timer, okay? So, and there's a ways of adjusting what's called the stationary object tracker, which I think is set for maybe 10 or 20 seconds. We've set it as high as 180 seconds to, so someone pulls in, the car's sitting there, and someone could pull in, just be looking at their phone or a map for a second, replying to a text. Although I've noticed that most people are texting and driving, but anyway, apply to a text and then they pull off, so it won't create an alert, but someone's there a little too long, it'll create alert. Enter and exit, loitering, appear, disappear, line cross gets used a lot, okay? Tailgating gets used a lot. And then logical rule, you want to make 100% sure something's going on there. So you might have a line cross mixed with an intrusion. So a car crosses a line and then goes into an intrusion area, and the intrusion area has that long time. So if someone then pulls out and drives away, it's not an alert at all. So the logical rule is really important because you can stack the rules you've created to increase your accuracy, especially on notification. Hey, I got a notification on my phone, X, Y, and Z, area X, Y, Z. I want to make sure it gets the right one. So there's also counters, okay? So you can add counters to your existing events, or you can get a specific thing called a counting line. And it's the same procedure. You click and add, and you can add a counter. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys a counting line. Okay, so we can go add. We have a counter. We then can choose our existing rule if we want. Okay, so these are our existing rules we already have. All right, and then we can add our increment area if we want, or de-increment rule if we want, meaning the number will go up and down depending on how that's crossed. Okay, and then occupancy, which is the maximum number it can be counted, and then you've got your threshold value, which you can leave at 0. Don't have to change that. Apply, then you've got your counter. But you have another one also, which is a little easier to set up. This is for incrementing and de-incrementing, more for people. Okay, this is a really good one because you got a counting line. You can set direction. Okay, so you got your A, B, both. Now I turn on the with calibration and shadow filter because we've got the building kind of drops into the road. So I called this one car counting. Be nice if I had a card counter, and that would be great for Las Vegas, right? And then we adjust our area for, I set this for both directions. It's just going to count vehicles, cars that go by. Click apply, and then I've got my card counting, and you can see I've also got my stopped areas, and I can keep adding different rules. Like I've got my line cross here as a logical rule. So if anything crosses within, I forget what these are. This is like a second or 2 seconds, they're speeding. Okay, and just want to maybe get alerts on people speeding down the road because believe it or not, even though this is a pretty sleepy sort of industrial area in Tampa, people use this for a cut through, and we've had cars going through 70, 80 miles an hour flying down the road. But anyway, that's more me than anything else. So that's how you create a counting line. So, that's so we get to that. We want to then say, okay, what else is the AI doing with Spectrum? And so one of the things it's doing is you can track and look at objects. So if you do wait for this thing to catch up, you click your little object guy, and it will show you all the events in reverse order. But then you can take an area, and it will just show you the objects that went in that area. Even if it went to a little corner of that area, just touched it, it'll go over there. But you can also search by the object itself. So person, car, truck. You can search by a color. So we've got persons over here. Okay, and there's not a lot of pixels. Let me look at the thing. It's able to pick out that they're, red shirt, black pants, and they're mingling over there, and there's a couple people over there. So again, we can search via that. And so that's the AI software sending the metadata into Spectrum, and Spectrum is redisplaying them. All right. So another example of that is bring up the cameras. I can go in and I can show you that how the plugin interacts. I can turn off region of interest, and I can turn off the object view. Okay. And I can do the same thing. I can do a search without those areas on there. It'll show me on my bar down here. Let me just pause it. It's hard to see, but the yellow and green, the yellow are any objects that crossed over into that particular area. Okay, much like the motion search. And again, the same thing. We can go in, view persons, and you can see these persons are a low number of pixels. That's 70 something yards away. So now again, we look at the Spectrum plugin. We've got our counter on the screen. I'm just going to forward this one a little bit. And then we can remove these items from view. I can turn off objects, and I can turn off region of interest, and it's just a regular view. So those are not overlaid and put onto the video directly. It is metadata that lives alongside the video. Okay. So what are the things you can do with these video? You know what? I am going to have us go into Spectrum real quick. We're going to take a look at that. Can you guys see my screen okay? My digital watchdog screen? Just someone mark or someone. Yes, thank you, Joe. Just want to make sure you guys can see my Spectrum view here. So this is the same setup I was showing you guys, the different servers. Okay, we'll go to this camera here. It's going to bring up just the recorded data, normal stuff. We'll hide our regions of interest on the screen. It's the same as this kind of search. So if I highlight an area here, we'll do this spot. Show me all the motion events that happen in this spot. This camera is probably appearing a little dark on your screen. All the motion events that happen there and so forth. If I go to objects, I can go to objects and I can just highlight this spot here. And it's going to show a few objects from, you know, someone walking in, looks like the mailman. And so on. So how does the plugin, we'll go back to live here. So how does the plugin interact? So meaning how is the data going into Spectrum? And if you want to see it, you got to be an administrator. It's going to take a second for this to come up. Got a thing called plugin. And so we can look at one of my areas. I've got a bunch of areas here. So that's area 1. It's the IA software is sending data to the plugin saying this is a stopped event. It's got a threshold of 60 seconds. It's got a stopped, loitering is 60 seconds. Stopped is 120 seconds. My deep learning filter is turned on. So this is all on. This is what it's reporting from the thing. You don't have to change anything in here. Okay. You do the change in Spectrum, like you change your confidence threshold in the IVA, the deep learning software. Okay. And you can do the same with the next one. Then we go down to line. Line will show you a little bit because it's saying, okay, shadow filters on that one. It's got showing the width calibration. It's direction. So it wants to be 90, 90 degree. Something can enter that line from a 90-degree angle. Is the deep learning filter on? Okay, what's its confidence threshold? So this is all the stuff that's reported from the software. So that's how the plugin is interacting with Spectrum. It is sending the data into Spectrum. Okay. Now the thing you can mess with is this one. You can of course not have it display on video if you want. Just turn it off so it's not there. So that's how it interacts with the server. And okay. Thank you. Yeah, this camera is a little dark. And also you go through Zoom and whatever doesn't make for a 100% good. So when we're in Spectrum, okay. Whoops, I got to go one more. Here we go. Yeah. So you can have events created. So here's an event created, and you can have a line cross go directly to your mobile device. A lot of people want that mobile device. You don't need. You just have to have been logged into your cloud account on your thing. You don't have to be logged into any particular service. Just logged into your cloud, and then this system logged into its cloud account, and you will get notifications from it. And so you take your analytic event, you choose your camera, you choose your event type, and then you can say, I want to bookmark. So maybe you're going to bookmark and send a notification. You can do that. Or I want to send a notification. I want another camera to swing around and look at it and bookmark it. Or let's say you've got a third-party device, access control system, something like that. You can send an HTTP request for something else to do something, a lock to lock, a light to turn on, something like that. And you can do an HTTP request from it. So all these are available on your analytic event, and you can have one analytic event trigger a number of these. Okay, so you can have a play sound, You can have send an email, send a notification, make something pop up full screen. We also have basically the same thing as full screen as show an alarm layout. And then you can force someone to have to type something in to, clear that alarm layout. All right. But you get camera output. I mean, camera's probably recording already, but camera record, all these different items you can have it do. So you have your analytics, you have your different analytics, your analytics using the deep learning are super accurate. And then of course you can go in and have it do whatever you need it to do. So come on, there we go. Let's go a little more. So where to find information? So we've got our Spectrum website. You go to digitalwatchdog.com, you search for software, you click on it, and you go in here. And you can go in and see what verticals we've worked on. So we have our products in the cannabis industry. I guess that's where everyone's growing pot, I guess. I'm just kidding. I know they are. We have some, white papers on it and how a dispensary uses it versus how a place that grows uses it. And we have all different verticals in there. And by all means, do that. If you guys have used Spectrum in a vertical and, we talk to our sales reps or send me an email and we can have a white paper for one of your projects put on yours. We explain to you guys a lot of the stuff I've told you about, which is, the cross-platform and easy to use, and your, licensing is easy. So let's talk about one more part of our website is our webinar schedule. So you guys are right now in our DW Tech webinar, AI Learning. The next one coming up is an integration one. It's February 16th. And we may have another one thrown in there shortly. Works with Spectrum webinar, Bold Manitou. So you guys are interested in how the Bold product works. Please check in with that one. And then, of course, we have our sneak peek. So last year I did it, and it was our highest attended webinar by far. Hundreds of people in it, because they wanted to, not everyone can get to ISC. Not everyone wants to go around in Vegas and fool around. So we do a sneak peek. So if we have a new groovy camera, new software integration, stuff like that, I do like an hour, 45 minutes to an hour webinar of what we're going to show at the show. If I can have a demo of it, I'll have a demo of it. And then in April, we do a post one where we say, this is what was at the show, this is what happened. So it's a very good webinar to attend. And we're always posting these to the website. I think anyone who is registered for this one and the ones in the past get an email from us saying, hey, we've got another webinar coming up. And of course, if you want to see some of our stuff we've recorded, we have several Blackjack and AI webinars up there, and they're on Vimeo, YouTube. We have recorded videos on also using DW University on basics of Spectrum and stuff like that. So by all means, take advantage of us and training and all of our things we have. So just a little summary. Spectrum is an endlessly customized IP video management system. I mean, and the fact that what we're doing is we're not going to try to have a separate black box that's doing the analytics, and then you got to set up that with different IPs and this port thing and something up with their network and it's too slow. We're putting it together so this way the analytics are working together. We're trying to make the installation and setup as easy as possible. So there's very little calibrating and tweaking. It's more of mounting your camera and getting the view right is going to be a big plus on it. So let me just scroll down here. Someone may have asked me a question already. I will answer your question, Joel, in a second. And then Jim asked me a question. So we're going to go Q&A now. So if you guys want to pepper me with questions,